Welcome back to Philosophy 101, What does it mean to be human? You'll recall that in the video where I cover the syllabus, I said there were 3 different types of assignments in this course: the discussion forums, response papers, and exams. I also told you that there would be a separate video covering further details about each of those assignments. This video will cover further details specifically about the discussion forum assignment. We're going to focus on first just the basic requirements and how to use the discussion forums, and second I'll say a few things about how these will be graded. So I think the best thing to do initially is to go to our Moodle page and look at one of the forums for our class. So we're in the week 2 area of Moodle, and I just want to take a look at discussion forum 3. Now you will notice that the particular due dates for this forum are the following. Your first post will be due Thursday, January 21st at the end of the day, and your response post will be due on Sunday, January 24th at the end of the day. And so I should start by saying a few things about what the difference between these 2 posts is. The first post is your initial response to the prompt for that discussion forum, whereas your response post is a reply to one of the posts made by your classmates or by myself. So we should first say, well, where are these prompts? Where do they come from? Well, we're looking here at discussion forum 3, and we'll see there are a few threads. First, there's a thread entitled discussion forum 3 question 1, and another thread entitled Ask the Professor. Let's take a look at this first thread, discussion forum 3 question 1. So any forum like this where it says question 1, question 2, whatever, these are the threads that will count towards your requirement on the discussion forum assignment. And when you open up this thread, you will see that I have already made a post. And were you to read this post, this is the prompt that you're supposed to respond to in this thread. So usually the prompts will start out with some description of something, some point in the lesson. Then they'll be followed by various questions which you are intended to respond to. So the first thing you will need to do by Thursday of each week for the discussion forums is respond to this discussion prompt. And the major requirement to keep in mind about what I'm calling this first post is twofold. First, your post must be at least 100 words, and second, it must be on topic, right? These are the primary things I'm going to look for when doing a sort of baseline grading of your assignment. Okay, so that's the first post, and that should be done by Thursday of each week. Then there is the response post, which should be done by Sunday. So the idea is after everyone has made their first post by Thursday, then you'll have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to reply or respond to at least one other post in the thread, and there's no specific word requirement for that. Okay, now I want to compare this discussion forum 3 in week 2 to a discussion forum that you can find in week 5 of the course. So let's take a look at week 5. And let's go to discussion forum 8. And you'll notice an important difference here. Discussion forum 8 has 2 discussion questions, question 1 and question 2. So a natural question would be here, do I have to respond to both of these or just one? And the answer is this: whenever a forum has more than one question, I don't think there are any forums in this class that have more than 2, but so if there's any forums that have 2 questions, you do not have to respond to both. You certainly can. I certainly welcome more participation, and that is something I take into account for extra credit and also for grade adjustments at the end of the semester. But to just meet the minimum requirements of the assignment, you only need to respond to one of these 2 questions, so it is up to you to choose. And there's another thing I should say about how to respond to the forums, right? So one thing you might think you should do is say, okay, well, I want to respond to discussion forum 8. I will click on this add a new discussion topic. So that's not actually what you want to do. I've already set the discussion topics, right? Question 1, question 2, and this ask the professor thread. Those are the topics. So whenever you make a reply, you should click on the specific question you're going to respond to. Simply go down here and and click reply and make your post in that way. The reason we do this is it just keeps everyone's comments, everyone's posts in the same place, so it's much easier to see what everyone is saying, and hopefully we can get more of a back and forth dynamic going with the discussion forums. Because after all, that is the point of this assignment. Again, it's supposed to mimic the sort of in-class participation or discussion you would have in a face-to-face environment. So having everyone post in the same area will hopefully encourage that to a greater degree. Now, I should also say something about the other thread, which I haven't mentioned yet, this Ask the Professor thread. So if you click on this, it just is basically going to tell you that the purpose of this thread is for you to ask me questions, right? So I will check these threads regularly, and if you have any questions about the content of the course that you would like answered, this is a good place to put them, right? And specifically, if you have questions about the content of the course that you think other people could benefit from seeing. Right, so if you have like questions that are personal to you, really just about your own specific circumstances, then you should email me. That's the best way to get in touch. But if you have some question about the content of what we're learning that week, and you think other people in the course would also benefit from seeing me answer it, then certainly this is where you'd want to post. Now, just to be clear, for the basic requirements of the assignment, nothing you put in this thread is ultimately going to count toward that. It's really just for your convenience. It gives you an easy way to answer questions that other people might also find helpful as they are working through the material. Okay, so that's the basic points about the sort of nuts and bolts of the assignment. The discussion forums are relatively straightforward. But the last thing I want to say is just about the grading and sort of the way I think about the discussion forums. So I've already told you to meet the basic requirements of the assignment, you have to make the two posts, the first post and the response post, by Thursday and Sunday respectively, and your first post has to be at least 100 words. So those are the basic sort of points that I will look for when grading. And I should also emphasize that for the most part, I see the discussion forums grading as participatory in nature, right? That is, I'm not going to be grading super harshly. It's not like an exam or response paper where I'm looking to make sure that you fully comprehended the material, right? Part of the discussion forum should be to talk through the material, and you should sort of be in a process of understanding it. So I, of course, take that into account. In addition, as I mentioned previously, the discussion forums are also meant to act as a sort of buffer. They're meant to serve as a sort of easier grade that is largely participation-based that can offset maybe some of the grades you get on other assignments, which maybe in the beginning of the semester aren't as good as you would like them to be. It provides a bit of a buffer and lets you recover with better grades later in the semester. However, for certain exceptional posts, right, for posts that are of a really high quality, I do consider giving extra credit, and what I really look for in those posts are the following things. When you post, does it demonstrate a really close reading of the text? Right, does what you say demonstrate that you did the reading and have really thought about it in a deep way? Does your post demonstrate critical thought? Does it show that you're really thinking through the issues that are brought up in the lecture? When you talk with your other classmates, do you go beyond just saying, oh, I agree, or sort of making cursory remarks? Do you really engage with them in a critical but cordial way? And of course, I should emphasize both of those components. In a philosophy class, it's natural that disagreements will arise, we'll engage in arguments, and people will have different perspectives, and of course, it's healthy and really a fundamental part of the course that we engage in discussion about those things. Of course, the sort of discussion that we have should be cordial and polite and respectful, and should always remain focused on the ideas and should never get to the point where you're criticizing a person. That is a line you simply don't want to cross. But of course, we should all want to engage in a good faith discussion of the ideas and the thoughts we have as we work through the material. So if you're engaging with your classmates in a really substantive and meaningful way, that's another thing I'll take into account when considering giving some extra credit for really excellent posts in the discussion forums. And as I also mentioned earlier in the previous video, At the end of the semester, those students who really go above and beyond in their participation will be higher and more likely candidates to have their grades adjusted when they're sort of in that borderline grade range. In any case, those are the major points about the discussion forums that I want to make right now. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via email. But I will stop there. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.